Good evening, I'm your host, Jack Remington of the Jack Remington Political Analyst channel. We're going to start doing a Remington Roundup to quickly recap just for a few seconds what's going on around the world before we get to our main feature story. A lot is going on worldwide. Prime Minister Abe was assassinated in Japan a few days ago. This is the country with the most strictest gun prohibitions in the entire world. It hadn't been in place since World War II, almost 80 years. Food shortages, fuel shortages, civil unrests, continued censorship in the only country that supposedly has First Amendment rights, continued pressure from the left regarding guns and abortion rights. The pro-abortion people don't want the death penalty, but want that right to kill the most helpless of them all, the unborn. I never saw a fetus commit a crime against anyone or anything, anytime, anywhere in the annals of human history ever. Powder kegs in France, Italy, Brazil, countries in Africa. That war in Ukraine that the mainstream media tells Americans to root for Ukraine against the one country that has 6,000 nukes or more than the bottom 8 nuke powers combined? Sure. Let's go to the local gang murder city, town, downtown, any big city in the United States, and the local crack house, and start a fight with a 6 foot, 8 foot goon that not even the other gang bangers will take on, even the gang up on them. So this is great liberal logic at work again. Don't forget the stupid January 6th hoax to keep Trump running again in 2024. He lives in their heads rent-free, and I'm loving it. The runaway inflation rate, especially here in the United States, particularly gasoline prices. Joe Biden giving foreign countries our oil reserves. What in the Hades is that all about? And half the country that will blindly vote for the Democrats and or Joe Biden potato head in 2024. They don't care what's going on. The lady stopped me at the gas station and said, I don't care if gas gets $100 a gallon, I don't want Trump back. That's what she said to me, to my face. Multiply it by 50 million other brain dead people out there that are willing to spend themselves broke. All because the mainstream media told him to hate Trump, as Trump won't spend us into oblivion. Like Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and now Joe Biden. At least when Ronald Reagan spent us into the stratosphere in the USA in the early 1980s, he broke the USSR in that Cold War, and it ended the Cold War, with the United States of America the only winner in all realms. The USSR had to take a real backseat to China, all except military power. That Ronald Reagan plan not only repositioned the United States militarily back to number one, but got the 1980s economy rocking like the Trump 2017 economy. But as a few of us can figure out, the Democrats, the Dems, don't want to work hard. They want us to give them what our hard-earned sweat equity created. Horrible story of the 10-year-old girl that was raped and pregnant, has to travel from Ohio to Indiana to get this abortion shit stuff. And then Jesse Waters, I got the story last night, even the Marxist communist, the left loony bootlicking Washington Post, the Washington Compost we call them, is asking questions. No answers for sure. That will be our next video. Boy, I think the Dems stepped on it this time. This is what our feature story is about. The Parolee in Maryland, my birth state and the last place I lived before I moved to California, tried to get to his work release job, and these climate change hoax protesters refused to let him pass. Every time he carried a protester to the side, another piece of shit took the protester's place. No consideration of anyone but this climate change hoax. So let's take a look at the video and hope I don't get a content strike.
Climate protesters taking their activism to the street this week, completely blocking traffic on the I-495 Beltway in Montgomery County, Maryland, and demanding that President Biden declare a climate emergency. Now, that protest prevented a parolee from getting to work. Watch.
No, I'm about to get locked up for 4 years of my parole if I don't make my job. And y'all are so inconsiderate. 495, no. We're live streaming right now. No. One lane. I'm asking one lane. Why don't you prison, bro? One lane.
Now, that parolee was arrested after he became agitated and tried to physically remove, allegedly, some of the protesters. There's no room for mistakes, inadvertence, being late. We've both seen people return to prison for much less than showing up late to the job. There is honor in him trying to comply with the, at times, draconian restrictions. There is no honor in blocking the freeway and blocking people from getting to work.
A lot of them face problems with finding housing because nobody wants to give a returning citizen housing because you have to check that I was once a felon. They have a hard time finding jobs. And on top of that, many of them, because they have to deal with parole officers, it's really hard. and they face these unsurmountable odds trying to reintegrate to society. And I think, they need a little bit more grace, and the system has no grace to give them.
Here now, we don't know the outcome actually for this gentleman. We know that he was arrested. We don't know whether we know actually he didn't make it to work. We don't know now. He might be facing 54 years. And that other guy remains stalwart. He said, no, until Biden declares an emergency, I will not budge.
What if you're in the back of that pack, that traffic pack, and you're having a medical emergency? Like there are a lot of things that could be going on besides one guy that happens to get upset enough to be out in the middle of the intersection trying to move the people because he's got to get to work on restrictions on being paroled. But what about the rest of us? I mean, yes, the First Amendment. Yes, you can protest peacefully, but he was right. You got to have a lane. Like, what if an ambulance needed to get through? Are these people just going to sit there and stay the problem? Would the cops then have to move in and move them? I mean, there has to be some common ground on what peaceful protesting looks like. We broke it in May of 2020, right? I don't even think we have any idea now. But we need to get back to it and figure it out.
That's right. And we've gone from the violent of 2020 to the absolutely ridiculous. People gluing themselves to Starbucks counters.
Right. I know, that was gross.
To masters artworks. I mean, the naked bike rides, like the list goes on.
Truckers, blocking roads.
Yeah, so much. Oh, wait, well.
It's because these people it's because they're trying to find religion, right? I mean, you look at every study, people on the left are less religious than the right. So that's what this is about. It's about finding
and they think
religion.
It's in the intersection?
Burning cities down in 2020 in the name of Black Lives Matter, firebombing pregnancy centers in the name of abortion, and then doing this in the name of climate, right? It's about finding religion in the form of activism and politics rather than God.
Let's be very clear. I think we've seen First Amendment protests on both sides of the aisle get a little bit raucous.
Okay, who looks at these protests and says, Van Gogh painting, gluing yourself to, naked bike ride, I want to be with these people because they're cool. Like, you're undermining your own cause. They also called Biden a failed president, the guys who are about to protest the congressional baseball game. So interesting. You've lost the crazies, Mr. President.
Yeah, well, I guess that's one thing we have in common.
I don't think they ever had them.
But that's it.
Maybe you never had him.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno.
There has been serious progress made in cleaning our environment, but the mainstream media, like in your AOCs of the world, Nancy Pelosi's, Chuck Schumer's want to spend all our money, Democrats in the House and Senate, the Amy Klobuchar, Buttigieg, whatever his name is, Kamala Harris, whichever way the wind is blowing, and the pun is intended, the wind is blowing, pun intended, Kamala Harris. They see another big money tax and spend grab, and morons with too much time on their hands can't wait to virtue signal and ruin other people's lives now. These climate change hoaxers say they want to save lives, yet they are so selfish, they harm us now and unashamedly, and they don't care how they do it. The second day of this report, the Maryland State Police arrested 14 protesters after they arrested that parolee. Some asshats were from Massachusetts, and when I lived back east, we used to call them massholes for their behavior like this. What can be done? Well, I'm going to contact the Maryland Parole Board starting tomorrow, and I will start the inquiries there. I'll make a follow-up video because we're going to follow up on this story, make sure this parolee gets his job back, and then he's facing 54 years in prison. So in closing this story, because I don't have all the information, I don't have a whole lot to work on right now, there are things that we can do. We can call the phone numbers that I'm going to get for us, and we're going to say, hey, look, it wasn't the guy's fault. It was these climate hoaxers. And this other report I got from one independent journalist, it was got to be from the Northern Virginia, Maryland, D.C. metro area. One journalist, okay, thank God, what one man can do. He filmed them. They arrested the parolee first, but they took their good old time getting these climate change people in the paddy wagons. So that tells me that the Maryland State Police are in the tank for the climate change hoaxers, and I got a problem with that. If they can't apply the law equally, they just want to dispatch a guy for moving the people out of his way, so he asked for one lane, he wouldn't even give him one lane. So I got a bone to pick with the Maryland State Police, and I hate to go against any police department, or I hate to go against my birth state, but I have to. And the guy was doing everything he's supposed to do to get back in society, and we have a system set up, which I don't necessarily totally agree with 100%, but that's the system we have. You commit the crime, you do your time, you get put on parole, you get work release, you get a job, and you try to do right for the rest of your life. That's what the parole system is all about. But they don't care about that. Okay, they keep saying they want this criminal justice reform. Well, you're not helping your cause with that either. So I got a lot of problems with this story, and to me, this is the most heartbreaking story that's affecting someone right now. I mean, we can't stand by and let that one person suffer. And people can go, oh, there's innocent people in jail. Well, see, they give their paychecks to these people, these investigators, to get somebody off on a technicality that's serving life in prison for some heinous crime. But they don't care about this guy trying to get back in society. So I think there's another dynamic working here, and I don't have to say that to people after you watch the video. you can see why it's not fitting their narrative itself. The other video will be on Rumble in a couple of days, and I'll give you the reason why it's not fitting their narrative. YouTube is going to kick me off, and they won't remove that one strike I got last year for the Dr. Fraudchi video. I know this is not a full story, but it's all I got right now. Stay tuned for the next video. I'll be back in a couple of days or less. I'm going to try to get more videos out because there's a lot going on. Time is my biggest enemy. I don't have time, so I got to really pick and choose the stories I want to get out there. So, always a great day to be an American. This is still the greatest country ever devised by man, even though the Dems and the communists are trying to destroy it. Always a great day to be an American. Wake up every day knowing you're born in this great country, and we're going to do something about it. Okay, we can control some of the things before it gets out of control. Please share, like, and leave a comment. Anything. So let's get this channel going. Okay, we can do this. Okay, the Americans, we got to fight back. Okay, they're trying to take the country away from us, and they're doing it brick by brick, piece by piece. Well, you know the drill. Stay tuned for the next video. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.